Sounds. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a fun one. You
Heck
guys
yeah.
excited?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you for
much
having me.
us.
Appreciate
Of
it.
course. Yeah. Okay. So I am really excited for this one because I feel like I have a lot to ask you. There's a lot I need to know about you guys. There's so much I don't know. And so I see Sean a lot, but I don't see you guys over there. You're so far away. I know. So I just can't wait to start asking you guys some questions to get to know you. And for everyone else out there to get to know you guys and what you do and what you're passionate about and all that. So let's start with Sean and we can go around the table. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, what your business is, what you like about your business, just give us the rundown.
Cool. That sounds good. Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Sean, and I run StereoGram with Cody. And we have been just playing music in bands and recording bands for more than 10 years together. We grew up in the same hometown
Where's that?
in Jupiter, Florida. So it's
Jupiter. That's where my husband's from.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny. We have to talk about Jupiter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love Jupiter.
Turtles.
Yeah.
A lot of turtles.
Oh, thirsty turtle.
There's
Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yep.
Those wings are no joke.
Oh, right.
know?
I'll be
Yeah.
going there in a few weeks.
Okay.
Good for you. Me too, actually, now that you say it.
Ooh,
I'm
I'll
gonna
see you at
go.
the beach.
All
Juno.
right. Just let me know when you're there.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. We've just been playing music and recording music for a really long time. When we were younger, we were just in the same hometown, and we both separated to do different things. Cody went to college. I moved to Nashville for a while. And then when Cody graduated, we ended up moving back to St. Pete and pursuing more music together. And this is kind of where we are. We run our own studio out of our house, and now we have our second location at Coastal Creative.
Wow,
To do
exciting.
all kinds of different things, some commercial and film stuff. But yeah, here we are doing podcasts with you.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so cool to have you on this side of the podcast because usually you're engineering the sound for us all.
Absolutely. This feels strange.
Yeah. What about you, Cody?
Quick, turn the knobs. Sean said it pretty well. We
Yeah.
both grew up
Thank you.
playing music. You're
Uh-huh.
welcome.
What kind of music? Like, what do you play?
I grew up playing a lot of punk and metal music. I was
Okay.
into really sort of experimental, dark, psychedelic rock stuff.
Whoa.
And so that was a lot of my roots. I then ended up going to school for classical guitar, and that gave me a completely different perspective on music
Yeah.
entirely. And now I mostly play sort of electronic rock stuff
Okay.
in a group called King Complex, which Sean also does the shows with us.
What do you do, Sean, in the show?
So for all the King Complex stuff, we do a lot of like visual work. So we bring big TVs with us and like lights so that like when people come and see it, they freak out. That's kind of the goal.
So it's not just sound stuff that you guys do. You do visual stuff too.
I do the visual stuff for King Complex.
that,
It
okay.
kind of started. We weren't doing visual stuff until King Complex, and then we needed someone to do it. So I learned.
So you guys are truly AV. Like you are truly the AV club.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's music. I think has always been the thing that stuck out for both of us the most. But it's all about elevating people's experience and sort of giving them a moment that takes them out of where they are and makes them go, "Oh,
Wow.
what is this?" And that's what I'm always searching for. And the stereogram is really sort of that idea manifested into something we can try to accomplish every day.
Yeah, and make a living off of hopefully. Like,
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. So what kind of projects does StereoGram typically work on?
So many different ones. I'll say some I'm working on, and then if
Yeah.
you want to, Sean,
Yeah.
you can take. I'm working on a lot of records for bands right now. Random chance here.
Yeah.
We're about to mix his new EP at the house. We've done one
Wow.
song so far, so that's great. There's a band called Pleasures that I love, and they're a local band. It's similar to what I grew up with, really sort of like dark psych, experimental rock stuff. So it's right in my wheelhouse.
Wow.
Augustus from Dallas, Texas, a rapper who we're working with too, producing and mixing some of his. So just a lot of local artists. One more I'll name is Doug South. Doug South is great. But right now for me, it's a lot of working on records of local artists and bringing them to completion.
Okay, so let's say I'm a musician and I want to hire StereoGram. What services can you offer me?
So essentially, we can do most all of it.
Okay.
The main components of making and finishing a record are recording first, then producing,
Okay.
mixing, mastering.
Whoa,
So I could
mastering.
go into all of that, but the
Yeah.
really short version is recording is creating the audio, right? There's
Uh-huh.
no audio, now there's audio. Producing is taking that audio and shaping it into a way that meets the vision of the artist.
Okay.
Mixing is typically giving it to another individual to get more perspective and further distill that vision even more into something more precise than that they're looking for. And mastering is that last like 5-10%. The entire track is treated as one chunk of audio.
Okay.
And instead of looking at separate tracks, you look at it as one thing and you can
Ah,
refine it a little bit more in that. So that's sort of the
wow.
whole process.
So is this what you guys learned in school, or like how did you
I recorded my first album when I was 12. It
wow.
was a punk band called Centuries. My friend Spee had wealthy parents,
Speed.
and we convinced them to buy drum microphones. And
Nice.
I started telling everyone that I knew that I recorded. And so that really just people,
Manifested that.
yeah, people. I've always loved music. I have to. It's like this like
Yeah.
compulsion almost.
Yeah.
And so always have done that and just made records and told people and showed them records and it never really stopped. And this past 2 years, it reached a point where Sean and I both went like, "You want to do this?" And so for me, that's what it was.
Yeah, a little bit different. Like I definitely jump into the records world, but a little bit different than Cody is that I also am interested in like the commercial film and sound design area, which is
Okay.
where the coastal thing really makes the most
Right,
sense. Is that
right.
like, I love making records; they're really important to me. But I just like the whole creating worlds thing, whether it's in film, whether it's in theme parks, whether it's like as ridiculous as it is. One of the projects that I worked at, one of the old companies I worked at, was just like the on hold message at Universal. Like something silly like that.
Wow.
Um,
Was it like a jingle or like music to it or something or
well, in some of the stuff that I had the chance to work on, it would really be more like you'd call and you'd hear like the person, like the voiceover had already been recorded, and then you'd have to add like the sound of like the minions, and Universal would send the
uh
other company like the sounds of minions, and you'd have to like kind of put them in there. You know what I
wow.
mean? So
That's
I'm
really
really big
cool.
on creating the world. I really like
Mhm.
that, and records are absolutely a part of it. It's more of a broad view for me.
Mhm.
And same thing, honestly. I only went to school for 3 months, and then I left and I moved to Tennessee, and that's really where I was very, very humbled when I moved out there. I had done a few records that, like, when I moved to Tennessee, I was like, oh my God, wow, I don't sound anything like these people. So I got a lot of work to do. And I was there for 5 years. And then we ended up linking back in St. Pete and doing the band thing and continuing the studio process. But until about 2 years ago, not really committing fully to it. And now we can. We've been really fortunate to be able to find that balance with each other and to be able to find people you can trust and do that with. So, yeah, I think just every day, just realizing how fortunate you are along with it.
Yeah, totally. Wow. That's really cool. So with you guys, as a partnership, it sounds like you each have like a different superpower kind of that you bring to the mix. Like, would you recommend that like when you're finding someone to go into business with for you to each have different like disciplines sort of that you have to kind of give you as a whole more things? Or is it good to find someone that like how did you know?
Honestly, I think it happens to be that we have a little bit of a focus in different areas. We're both capable of doing all of the things that we can do at
Okay.
StereoGram. But even the previous company that I worked for, same kind of deal. The two people that worked there was somebody that was like really big into like composition and the musical side, and then there was someone who was really big into the sound design world. And it
Mhm.
ended up kind of they also run their business out of their house, and they're awesome. Shout out Alan and Jen in St. Pete; they're the best. Um, but yeah, I think it's kind of like blossomed into that. You know what I mean? Into two separations. But we can always come back and say there are some artists that like. I know there are artists that Cody is so excited about recording, and I know that that's his world.
Yeah.
If it comes up, yes, but it just depends on what the artist really wants. They always want different things, and we just kind of try and find the best strengths for it.
Yeah. And yeah, to speak to that, Sean does great production, mixes, mastering too. So I think we're both
Okay.
like very capable in both things.
Yeah.
As far as finding someone else to possibly have a partnership and how to go about that in the best
Yeah.
way, I think the most important thing is knowing yourself what you're most interested in.
Mm.
Dali has a quote where he essentially says, the way to be a better artist is do the thing that you do more than anyone else you know who does it. And I think
Wow.
that when you do something to an extent that becomes abnormal or atypical, people kind of start getting out of your way. Like they start accepting that, like, oh shit, this person, that's what they do.
Just like you saying,
And
I'm a recorder at 12, or like,
sure, I mean,
it's just like, okay, like, is he gonna walk the walk? And you did, and then it's like, well, then I guess you're a recorder.
sure, yeah, and you stick to things and they happen. If someone came up and wanted sound design, I'd say, Sean, he's a sound designer. Go work with Sean.
Yeah.
And so we pass off projects on a case by case basis, and I think more than anything, it's just finding someone who is committed and knows what their deepest interest is the
Okay.
most important.
That makes sense. Wow, that's really cool.
Sure.
Okay, so we've got Random Chance over here too.
Hi, guys.
So,
What
okay,
up?
I'm dying to hear about you. So first of all, remind me, what is your name?
My name is Random Chance. Like, that's my birth name.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
And
very much.
tell us all about you and how do you fit into this?
Okay, so I am, well, first of all, I'm a little younger than these guys. I'm 18. I just graduated over at Gibbs. I
cool.
I had like I don't know if it's not a degree, it's like a certificate
Yeah.
in musical theater. That was like, I went to Gibbs and I did that, but let's back up. I was born in Dade City, so I don't know where, I'm so bad with directions. It's somewhere in Florida.
It's in the middle.
That's what I
right?
can say. Not a lot around there. And I lived in Dunedin a long time, so like
Okay.
the suburbs of there.
Yeah.
And I have been making music. That's my main thing. I'm a recording artist, so I do a lot of just like, my face is on everything. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now.
How'd you get into that?
Well, actually, so when I went to Gibbs, I had a friend named Tyrese who
Okay.
also is still making music and a recording artist. He was producing on his laptop. He was making music, and I always liked music. I don't think I realized how much I liked it until after I had seen it, you know, and really lived through the theater thing.
Okay.
But I was like, that's really cool. Like, how do you do that? You can do that on your
Yeah.
computer, on a laptop, anywhere you are. Like, that's cool. So that's how
Yeah.
it kind of all started. And so I had gotten my first like digital audio workstation on my laptop, and I would just do it, and it just became like everything. I was doing it like every day,
So
all
like
the
give us an
time.
example like of what you were doing.
So I was essentially just, when I should have been doing schoolwork, I was making music. I was like making instrumentals and just starting the gears were starting to turn, if you know what I mean.
Totally.
And so that's kind of how it started.
Wow.
But so I also do produce for people too, not as heavily as these guys do.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
you're
my
18. I mean, you got,
Right,
you know, it's going to
but-
take a little time.
Right.
He's great though. That was really
Thank you.
good.
That's so sweet. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all started for me.
So how'd you meet them?
So I met them actually. We were doing. I used to work
about
at. Have you been to Pacific Counter? It's like right here
Oh,
on
yeah.
Central. I used to work there. I worked
Okay.
there like when they opened.
Nice.
And Dwight, who also works in,
Yeah.
was with them. He did a commercial for them, and so I was just. I happened to be there that day.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just happened to be there, and
That's crazy. I thought it was going to be this like really like cool
No.
hip music. We were at this like club like
The one of the really trippy parts about it is Dwight, who works for Coastal
Yeah.
Creative, where we are right now. He has a company called Normal Network, and at the time it was a commercial for Normal Network, and he wanted to integrate local artists into commercials for local businesses. So I had actually written and produced a song for Pacific Counter
Oh my
that
God.
was to play while the commercial was happening.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's how I met Random.
yeah, so I was literally just working on the line, doing my thing, and I would just, my manager was like, hey, they're shooting a commercial, like, do you want to be in it? And I was like, of course, like, let's do it. I love being on film. So I just literally started talking to Cody, just, you know, in between takes, and he was like, he told me he made music too, and I was really new at the time. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point.
Okay.
And I was like, well, so my song doesn't sound the way I want it to. Like, my vocal doesn't sound the way. He's like, well, have you tried this? You know, have you started? And I was like, oh. So that kind of opened the door, and we just kind of
Wow.
went from there. And now he's mixing my project, and
So tell us about this project.
so it's called Gap Year. Search Random Chance on Spotify.
You
So
can shout it out. Don't be afraid.
Search Random Chance on Spotify.
please though, like really. No, so I'm just kidding. But it's my first like big project. It's my first
Wow.
EP, so it's gonna be I think 4 or 5 songs.
And okay, I'm an accountant. Remind me of the EP thing. I know I've seen that like
Right.
on like CDs?
To be honest with you,
dating myself.
I believe I'm not even sure. I think its EP is like what 4 to 6 songs, and anything after that is considered an album. Do you know the
Pretty
actual?
much, yeah. So
Okay.
it's sort of a leftover term, I think, from like the label days, and it
Right.
stands for extended press.
Okay.
So what it really was is if you had a single that was working really well, the record label might say, "Okay, this is good, but what else do you have?" And
So
this
just throw a
was
few more out there, but not
yeah.
too many.
And
Like,
then it became like colloquial. People just use EP.
Oh,
okay.
So it's like,
he's just dropping all the music facts today. I did
yeah,
not
this
know.
is interesting. So you're doing an EP because you're
Yes.
just like, let me just give you a little bit. Like, I'm just getting started here. Like, you don't want to give like 12 songs
Essentially.
right away.
So
Okay,
my
that makes
thing is
sense.
it kind of comes also from a marketing perspective to where like a lot of people don't want to listen to, like they don't want to click on an album of an artist they don't know. You know, albums
Right.
are for people who essentially have a fan base. So
Oh,
my
interesting.
goal, like from a marketing side, is drop all these singles, promote them, market them for 2 or 3 months each,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and then put the whole thing out as a big project. Maybe add like 1 or 2 songs in there, and try to
Gotcha.
just build more of an audience. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, and also a budgetary thing too.
Sure.
I can't do an album at the moment. but-
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so theater and then music. So
Mm-hmm.
how do they complement each other?
So essentially, I did musical theater. I wasn't even a huge fan of doing musical theater. I did it
What
just to kind
attracted
of.
you to it?
I had a lot of friends that did it. I was a
Okay.
performance theater major, so an acting
Okay.
major when I had gone there. My sophomore year, I switched to musical theater.
Okay.
And that was just because I was like, you know what, I kind of want to try this. All my friends are doing it, and
Yeah.
and it was cool. It was a good experience. But I had spent a lot of time with other people who made music. Shout out to Tyrese and Noah. They kind of spending time with them really was what
Yeah,
made those
they
two
inspired
correlate.
you.
know,
Yeah.
after shows and rehearsals, they would show me. Yeah.
That's really cool. So tell us a little bit about your music. Like what style, what kind of
So it's pop music essentially. So it kind of resembles something you'd hear on the radio, I guess,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yep.
But I like to, take different kinds of styles and blend them together. I really like the kind of folky guitars
Mm-hmm.
and the really heavy hitting basses of like, hip hop and trap. So I kind of bring all of them together and try to do something different the best I can.
wow. That is so cool.
Thank you.
Wow, I'm so excited you're here. This is great. It's like a little bonus. It's so fun. So what are your goals? Like what's the future? What are you trying to do?
Well, I would love to do music for a living. I would love to be a recording artist. That's my
Yeah.
main goal. In August, I leave for New York, and I'll be going to school up there
Okay.
at a conservatory for film acting because I've been doing
Wow.
acting for a while. So
Wow, so you're doing acting and all this?
trying to.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's certainly a challenge, but I like it. It's fun to always be doing something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's really impressive.
Thank you.
if I may, one thing about
Please.
Random's music is at least, not that it's over the top, but I hear the crossover between the theater and
Really?
your musical style.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
It's nothing that's like over the top theatrical like Broadway feeling, but
Right.
a lot of it has the like boldness of like a film score. Like
Oh.
there's this certain amount of like grandiose. How do you say grandiose? Grandiose.
Grandiose. I
Right,
think.
yeah.
Grandiose. Thank you.
Yep.
This quality about it.
Well, that's
it's very cool.
That's
So-
cool. Thank you. I
Oh,
I
we're
didn't think
definitely
about it
gonna
like
have to
that.
link
It's in
some
there.
things here. Can we link
Of
to you?
course,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, because
100%.
everyone's gonna be like, well, I want to hear this. Like,
I would love it if you guys would hear it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. Do you have any like advice on what we should listen to first?
Oh gosh, my favorite thing I've ever made isn't out yet. It's what Cody and I worked on recently. It's called Normal Life, and that comes out probably in a couple months. So that's
Okay.
it. I know you can't right now, but that would be the thing that I'd be
Okay.
like, this is what I do. Like this is who.
That encompasses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where can we follow you so that we'll know when that comes out?
So Twitter, Instagram, mainly I'm on Instagram the most. That's
Same.
It's at I'm Random Chance, like on everything, everywhere
Okay.
I am. And then on Spotify and Apple Music, I'm just Random Chance. So you
Okay.
can find me that way.
Awesome.
Are you on TikTok though?
I am on TikTok.
And what are your thoughts on TikTok?
Oh man, they hate me over there.
That's what all the kids are doing now. That's why I
Is
said
that-
it like that. It's like now like the
What about
on
what's
TikTok.
happened to Snapchat? Is that still a thing, or
Yeah.
is that kind of different?
That's fun. I like it. It's more of like a connecting thing, I'd say, to connect with your friends.
It doesn't
I hear
feel
this.
as much of like a social network to me. Like Instagram feels like you can go onto it and you can see like a feed. And I'm not sure that you can on Snapchat, but like Matt Walden is another person who's big on TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
like absolutely slaying it right now.
Yeah,
But
he was telling me, why aren't you doing accounting tips on there? And I was like, I don't
he's telling
know.
everybody,
He's on
get on TikTok.
because you already talked to him, but because we're talking business too,
Yeah.
apparently Twitch music is a big thing.
That was on
And
my list. I
that's what
was going to
Matt's working
ask if
on.
you guys have checked that out. Have you?
I've looked into it. I
Looked
don't do
into
it
it?
myself, but I know 2 or 3 people that it works very well for.
Oh my goodness.
it's new.
I'm thinking random because it's like with COVID, like Matt lost all his gigs, everything he was doing in person, all his shows, and just started Twitch. And he's like making more money there than he ever was performing in person.
That's what Cody told me. Yeah, like that sounds crazy. I haven't done it either yet, but it sounds really cool.
Yeah. And he's like really connecting with his fans in a way that he couldn't like just at a big concert or something. So yeah.
That sounds
And I
awesome.
think Patreon maybe he does too.
Mm-hmm.
That
Just tell me about that.
yeah. He sends like little gifts to people and like postcards and things. And
He's
yeah.
actually killing it with that right now.
Yeah.
Very attention to detail is great there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's
And-
awesome.
But yeah, the Twitch thing, he's like, oh, gotta go. I gotta be on. I gotta be live. I gotta do this thing. And
Yeah, all of these things, it's so strange, but all of the platforms that like are working the best seem to change I feel like every year, maybe every 2 years, but something else
Yeah.
inevitably comes out, or one of these platforms makes a subset of their platform that now is like the thing for music,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult to keep up with.
yeah, how do you guys keep up? You just
You don't. You really don't. You learn. You can do your best, but you learn as you go. Really.
yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. So with you, you're about to be like classically trained in something up in New York,
Right.
but then you also are already kind of just an entrepreneur and doing things your own way. So how do you balance like, you know, I don't know, my personality, like I wouldn't want to go be taught because I feel like, no, I know what I'm doing. Like I'm onto something. So
Right.
like, do you see yourself being able to like fit that mold and learn, or do you like, or are you just going to want to go do your own thing?
Definitely. That's interesting. Like usually, yeah, it's gonna be a film acting school, so it's definitely gonna be more still on like in front of the camera. You know, a lot of social media marketing experience and things like
Mm-hmm. Right.
that. But I have a feeling I'm gonna find some ways to do my own thing up there
Yeah.
too, because New York is just filled with stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be definitely trying to mix both of them in there. You know, not get in
Yeah.
trouble or anything.
Right. But yeah, I guess because they're so different, you'll be able to give your full attention still and like still really learn. Because it's
Absolutely.
not like you're being classically trained on how to, you know, make music because you're already doing that. It's
Right.
kind of, yeah, so it's different.
Yeah, definitely experimental.
Do you know
That's-
Saint? Oh, sorry.
Go. No.
Do you know Saint Vincent, artist?
Yes.
So-
Barely. I know of them. Yes.
Cool. She writes amazing stuff, but it's really weird pop music. And she said something really interesting on that one time. She said, learn all of the theory so that you can forget it.
Oh.
Because it is very good to know that you can pull from these things, right? But if you operate from them, it's going to suck
Right.
every time. But it's useful. So get it in there and then ignore it. But
See what sticks and then ignore the rest.
It's
yeah.
good to know. When I was growing up, I took classical piano lessons for a while, and I like probably within a year I was like, I can't do this. This is just too much. Like, I hate this. Like, please, mom, don't make me do this.
Yeah.
And I stopped playing music for a minute. I think I was a freshman in high school. There was one year where it's like, I'm not gonna play music. I'm gonna be normal or whatever that means, and that sucked.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
same
I
thing.
don't know. I guess I thought like I'd just try something different. But as soon as I started playing piano and like writing music and like not doing anything that was like, oh, I need to read this off of a page, but just like exploring freely, immediately totally different experience. You know, because you
Interesting.
just get to like hear things that necessarily don't make sense, and they don't make sense because they don't theoretically make sense. you know?
Right.
But it's more fun when you do cool stuff like that.
Right.
Which, by the way, all the theory did not come from theory. It came from people writing music, and then we looked at it and we went, oh, there's patterns there. Let's call it something. But they were not going, here will be a diminished fifth chord into an inverted minor seventh. Like that's not how they were thinking. They were thinking emotionally.
Right.
And then we came in as humans trying to
And labeled it
compartmentalize
all,
everything.
yeah.
Like, this is called this. And it's a good thing because you can refer to it, but like
yeah.
it's not what it is.
That's a good way for me to explain it to my future children someday. If they're like, why do I have to learn this? It's like, no, it's not theory. It's cool. This was just some musicians, natural.
Understanding things
Yeah.
better. It's
Yeah.
an understanding of what people did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool way to look at it. So you are on your own, right? Like you don't have a business partner or anything.
So the guy I mentioned earlier, Tyrese,
Tyrese,
he
yeah.
actually, I published under his LLC technically.
Okay.
So he owns an LLC called Honest Records, and he a couple other artists publish under him.
Okay.
So I do publish under that label, but all of the marketing and everything I do myself. So
Okay.
yeah, technically I do have a partner, but I'm not co-owning anything with him. I just release under him.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on like co-owning something versus just doing your own thing? Because I know these guys have this like co-own situation.
Right.
What do you think about all that?
I think there's benefits. I mean, it would be nice to be able to split the work,
Yeah.
or split. When I do collaborations with him and, other artists too,
Yeah.
we'll split the work. We'll do the covers and things like that together. But it would be nice to definitely do the work with somebody else. I mean, I'm sure that probably takes a little bit of the weight off, even though it's
Yeah.
still a lot of work having somebody to fall back on.
Totally.
But, at the same time, you get to do whatever you want. You can experiment with things and you don't have to worry about anybody else's opinion. You can just,
Yeah.
apply everything.
That's
So,
a good point.
yeah.
There's pros and cons for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think, one thing I'm taking from this today is like to really think about it long and hard before you bring a partner on and explore what it's like to do your own thing, which it sounds like StereoGram, you guys did do your own thing for a long
To
time.
be fair, I don't think there was a lot of thinking involved when we decided to do what we did. It really naturally happened that way. Even when I lived in Tennessee for years, Cody was one of the few people that actually even came to record drums once at my house, just because like it was a
Wow.
different thing, and we're just homies, and we have been for a long time. And when it was time, when Cody graduated college, there was a music project, and we had always talked about linking up and doing it again, and we just actually made it happen. And I don't know that there was a lot of thinking about it. It just it made sense. When
Yeah.
it was time.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that there was like you seem like a good fit.
Well, it didn't come from thinking business minded. Like Sean and I
Right.
both were very emotionally invested in the art of music creation
Right.
and sound creation. So the business part is really just an evil necessity for the way the world works, but also a conduit to be able to work on higher level stuff.
That makes
So
sense.
like it's great, but it never really had to be a question because it wasn't coming from thinking of it as a business. We went,
yeah.
oh shit, this is working. Can we make it work more?
Right.
And I think we're both the kind of people that kind of will just take something as far as it will go to see how far it will go. Like
Yep.
it's not really this
that makes
like
sense. Yeah.
super planned out thing. It's like, what else can we do? Like, okay, do that thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
That's really interesting to hear as an accountant because I think of everything as like, okay, there's more than one owner. We're a multi-member. What are we, an LLC? Are we a partnership? Should we file as an S corp? Like, what's the plan? Or where are we doing our bookkeeping? Are we using QuickBooks? Like, or have you 1099'd anyone? Like, what do you know the tax effect of that? What's your ownership split? Like,
Yeah, that's why we need you.
Yeah, that's
have you put
This is all
equity
about-
in? Like, what were your capital expenditures? But
That's
and
a
then
great
when I
question.
wonder those things, I'm like, why don't they know this? But it's because, and never in a judgmental way, but more of just like, didn't they talk about this? Like, but for
Absolutely
but
not.
now
I'm
I
like,
see
is-
where you guys come from is like, well, no, you guys have like an art, a craft that is what your conversation's about, and then like by default, you kind of ended up being like a business, but that like wasn't the point,
No,
So it's interesting for me to see that perspective.
Yeah, the questions we ask each other, I'll be chugging coffee and I'll be like, Sean, is the bass hitting hard enough today? Is it?
And the answer
And
will
I'm like,
be-
what's your tax ID number? What's going on?
Yeah.
Was the IRS know about this?
Which
Like,
we should talk about more.
oh, we got your back. We'll help you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
those are not the things we wake up and talk about every day. So
Yeah, you've got other things going on.
I think the better question is, how many cups of coffee have you had today, Cody?
yeah.
I can tell you, I've had 2 dirty chais
Ooh.
and I've had 2 full French presses. So we're
Full
probably
French
looking.
presses?
I
He's a
don't
monster.
stop.
Is your heart
It will-
okay?
Yeah, so far,
now?
so far. It wakes
Whoa.
me up, and I really, 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 really like what I do. So as I drink more coffee and continue to mix music, it just builds excitement. So there's really nothing
intense.
bad that happens until it does reach a point that my body is like, yo, stop. stop it with
Yeah.
the coffee. And I listen to. I say, okay, yes, I will stop with the coffee. I'm
Is
like,
there food
it's
involved
fine.
ever?
There's always food involved. Yeah, I do smoothies almost every day. I'm on these protein waffles now. Delicious. A little cinnamon. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, I like it. Cool. Wow. I've learned a lot about you guys.
What's your go-to for breakfast?
I have been like a breakfast slacker lately. I feel like
Yeah?
it's just a meal skip for me. Because as soon as I have
Okay.
coffee, I'm not hungry. That's why I asked if you eat, because I find that
I'm
it
not a
really
breakfast person either.
it
That's the
suppresses
same-
my
mhm.
appetite.
Yeah, I know it can be an energy thing too. Like if I eat too early, I will get more tired. Whereas if like you're saying, if you just drink coffee and go, you're a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
but I had a banana today because I was going to take a vitamin, and like multivitamins can give you a stomach ache if you don't eat. So sometimes just a banana.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking.
Sure. Gotta
absolutely.
know.
I don't do the coffee thing.
You don't do the coffee thing.
Not really. Like occasionally, Cody will say, "Do you want a cup?" And I'll say, "Well, it's already made. Yeah, that sounds good."
Good for you.
I can't start the day without coffee. It's every day.
My dog.
Every day. Dunkin' every day.
Dunkin', you're a
Yeah.
Dunkin' guy.
Yeah, I'm a Dunkin' guy.
Interesting. What's your order?
Get this, right? I'm lactose. So
Okay.
we do a medium iced coffee with with 3 caramel swirls, 1 shot of coconut, and almond milk.
One shot of Coke. Is
They
the,
It will
hate
change your
you.
life. If you haven't had it, it will
Sarah's
absolutely
taking
change
notes
your life.
behind the scenes because she's a Dunkin's gal.
Damn.
Yes.
So
And even if you can tolerate lactose, which I cannot, still get the almond milk. I'm telling you, just trust me. Okay.
It's
Wow.
worth it.
It's
What's
worth
with
it.
the coconuts for flavor?
yeah, tell
It's
us
just
about the
caramel
coconut.
Like
All right.
you know, if you like
I've never
the
considered this.
Girl Scout cookies, what are the ones that have
Samoas.
the Samoas? Yes,
Yeah.
that and then so good.
Ah, I see
Everyone's
what you're
like,
doing
"Whoa."
there.
Just
Wow.
delicious.
How did you come up with it?
I didn't. My best friend's mom did, and I was like, "Oh, this is so good. Let's do almond milk in it," and it was better.
Wow. Do you have a name for your drink?
The June bug, because her name is June, so that's what we'll call it. The
I
June
love
bug.
that.
Nice.
That's so nice. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go order a June bug over at Dunkin'. And I'm really excited for everyone to see all your links below. We're going to make sure everything you guys do is linked so that everyone can go hear your music and your projects. But thank you so much for being here today. I had so much fun. And now I want to go upstairs and see your guys' studio. So let's go tour that.
Hell yeah.
right.
Thank you so
Sounds
much for having us.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
My
Thank you for
pleasure.
having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
it.
nice to meet you. If you have any questions for us or need help getting started, check us out on social media. We are on Instagram at Conscious Accounting, and our website is conscious-accounting.com, or you could email us at info@conscious-accounting.com.